Alright, so in this video I'm going to show you how to make this tube burner for a project I'm working on. I needed to make some burners. I figured this would make a great standalone video, so here it is. So the burner's on right now. Very simply, it's basically a tube with an intake and an orifice, something like this, that shoots the propane through it, connected to a propane hose and a regulator down here. And that's the burner, nothing to it. Okay, if it was only as simple as that. There is a little tweaking, and the size of the orifice hole is really critical to the size of the tube. I'll talk about that after, but I just wanted to show you the quick overview of this burner. So what we have a propane regulator down there, just connected to a 20-pound propane tank. That regulator is just a standard barbecue one, a high output barbecue one, but it's low pressure, so it's under 1 psi. Then I have it hooked up to a ball valve here. Flare fitting to the ball valve, and then into a 1/8 pipe nipple, which the pipe nipple is then connected to a plate like this. And then there is a nozzle, an orifice hole drilled into a 1/4 inch end cap, or a 1/8 end cap. This is all brass fittings. So, and then that is hooked up to this reducer that goes from 1.5 inches down to 3/4 inch to a 1-inch stainless steel tube with a whole bunch of bandsaw cuts cut into it. And then the end is welded shut. And then a piece of plate was welded on so it could be used for mounting. But anyways, so I still need to tweak it a little bit. I get a little bit of yellow on it, but it's not too bad. This is at a 1.2 orifice hole, and I'll talk about all that here in the build. But that's about it. There's nothing to it. Yeah, I get really good heat output from this. To light it, very simply, just turn on the propane a little bit until you hear it, and just ignite. Now I'm going to manufacture the burner. This intake is going to be the bell housing, and I need a way to mount the orifice to it, so I'm going to weld on some mild steel so I can tap some holes in this. You'll see how this will work, but I got to preheat this cast iron and then weld it to the mild steel. Alright, so to weld this I'm going to use some stainless steel MIG wire. And ideally you could use a nickel rod with a stick welder. I'm going to use stainless steel here, it works pretty well. This is nothing really structural, so this will be okay. Just need to tack this in place. This is a piece of 3/4 inch wide, 1/8 mild steel bar stock, same as the stuff that I welded on the back of this bell housing, or this reducer, that will be mounted to the tube burner. And I'm going to drill a hole here, which will then thread this pipe nipple that'll fit that with this, I think it's 1/4 inch NPT tap. So I'll drill the hole, tap this, and then I'll make an orifice for that, which will then bolt onto this. Easy. Alright, so correction, this is a 1/8 NPT thread for this pipe nipple. I'm gonna use lots of cutting oil and just tap this hole. So I drilled a hole in a 1/8 cap for the pipe nipple for this guy here. So it's a 1/16 of an inch hole, which will fit on like this. But before that, it'll thread onto this plate that I've made. So it'll thread on like this. And then this cap will fit on this side. And that's the whole assembly. This is a 1 inch in diameter by 1/16 inch thick stainless steel tubing. This will be the burner tube, and I've already done some testing. I've created this guy here. This guy here, I've tested with the orifice with a 1/16 inch orifice. I've clamped down on this side to seal it up. I'm going to replicate it on the other tube. This one was sacrificial. I tried drilling holes initially here to try to make holes on both sides. That was just way too much work, way too much drilling. It's just, especially with such a small drill bit, and stainless steel work hardens like a fucking son of a bitch. So, I'm going to cut slats. That's what I've landed on. So what I will do is I'll replicate the same thing on this tube here. I'm gonna mark these at 1 centimeter apart. I find that was a good amount. That's what I did on this old one. So because this intake isn't big enough back here, I'm drilling out some extra holes for air. Hopefully that'll provide enough air for this burner, because there's a lot of slots cut out for air, for the burner. It's using a lot of air to mix with the propane. So I'm getting a yellow flame, so I'm going to see how it works with these extra holes. These are 3 different end caps, 1/8 end caps, that I've drilled out to varying different sizes for the orifice holes. So this one is 1 millimeter, this is 1.2 millimeters, and this one is 1.3 millimeters. I don't know what that is in a number size for a drill bit. That's the drill bit set that I have, so that's what I'm working with. In case you're wondering, this is the drill bit set that I have. You can get this off of Amazon for a couple bucks, but it's got all the way from 0.3 up to 1.6 millimeters. So anyways, after some experimentation, I've figured out that 1.2 millimeters is the optimal orifice hole for this burner, for this tube burner that I've made out of 1 inch by 1/16 inch thick stainless steel tubing. So I'm going to show you the different orifices and the size of the flame, because there's an optimal amount. I figured out that there's an optimal amount of airflow, air mixture with propane for the size of the tube. You can't physically get any more air in unless you force the air in to get a clean burn. So you'll end up with more of a yellow flame instead of a nice blue burning flame. So I'm going to show you right now what that looks like. Alright, let's start with the 1.3 millimeter. So as you can see here, it's got too much orange at the tips. There's got a little bit of flame coming out there, but this is still experimenting. So 1.3, no good. Just way too much orange. Let's go to 1.2. I figured out that this is probably the optimal flame for it. The optimal nozzle size for this size tube burner and this intake. I tried drilling more holes to get more air into it, but it really doesn't make a difference. Even if I constrict off this, it doesn't change the burner. So it's really limited by the size of the tube and how the fuel and air mix with the size of the orifice. So I'm really limited. There's a ratio there. I don't really exactly know what it is, but after just doing some trial and error, I've landed on something decent at least. So that's 1.2. With a little bit of orange, but not too bad. It won't make the bottom of the griddle or your barbecue soot up too badly, so it's not bad. It's a trade-off between power and performance versus a dirty flame, I guess. Although it isn't burning at optimal when it's got that orange flame. So now we're switching it off to 1 millimeter. And this is at 1 millimeter, and it burns nice and clean. This is at max though. That's not bad if it was just a low-powered barbecue or a grill, but I want something with a little more oomph. So I'm gonna go with the 1.2 millimeter. So 1 millimeter is just a little too small for what I want. And I need to clean up the holes on the burner as well, so to get a nicer, cleaner flame, even looking flame, but that works well. So 1.2 it is, but just for fun, I had drilled out a 1/16 hole, and this is far too big, but it does produce a pretty roaring big flame. So this is 1/16, and it's way too big. I can't get nearly enough air in it to get a nice clean burn, but you definitely got lots of power. And it's hot, I can feel it from here. But see, it's a really dirty flame. You can't get enough with the Venturi effect in these Venturi burners. It's not drawing enough air in at the same time because I don't have enough velocity, I guess. Or again, it's the tube size. There's a ratio there, I don't know what it is, but for me, 1.2 millimeters should work just fine. All right, here's the end product. So, what do we have? We have a low pressure propane regulator down here connected to a 20-pound propane bottle with a rubber hose, connected to a flare fitting, which then connects to a ball valve. Then the ball valve is used to control the propane flow. The ball valve is connected to a 1/8 pipe nipple, brass pipe nipple for now, NPT. And then it's connected to this assembly here, which is a plate with a tapped 1/8 NPT hole right here. And then an end cap with a 1.2 millimeter orifice hole drilled into the cap, threaded onto the nipple, which I've just removed it from, just for testing here. I just have this long pipe nipple in here. Whereas this has a downward for the project I'm working on. But you can imagine it'll be like this. It'll just face downward so I can route the propane. So from there, we're hooked up to a 1 1/2 inch reducer, black iron reducer, down to 3/4 of an inch. And then a 1 inch stainless steel pipe with a whole bunch of slots cut into it with my bandsaw. You can use a hacksaw, grinder, although I find the bandsaw width is a really nice width. And then at the end, it's just clamped shut and then welded, and then I welded on this piece of stainless steel just so it could have a hole drilled in it for mounting. And that's it for the burner. Control it very easily with the ball valve.